Dear Chosen One, this message has found you at the precise moment, right on schedule with divine alignment. There are no coincidences here. You didn't stumble into this transmission by chance. You were led here. Everything in your life has been guiding you to this point because something extraordinary is about to be revealed within you and through you. The inner knowing you've been quietly holding, the one that says help is coming, that a shift is near, that something major is about to happen. It's real, and the wait is over. You've been carrying pressure that felt unbearable at times, but that wasn't just stress. That was spiritual confirmation. The discomfort, the weight, the restlessness. All of it was preparing you for this. A divine relocation set into motion by someone who sees you. A high-level individual, one with real reach and deep spiritual resonance, has felt the energetic pull of your assignment. They've sensed what you tried to keep quiet. They've recognized what others overlooked. And under the guidance of your celestial allies, your ancestors, your angels, your spiritual protectors, they are preparing to open the exact door you've been praying for. Before we go deeper, I want to pause and extend heartfelt gratitude to every soul who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity helps keep this sacred space alive, allowing these transmissions to reach more chosen ones around the world who are still walking through the fog, searching for confirmation, truth, and light. Whether you've donated or not, please know this: your presence alone is a blessing. I am deeply honored and thankful that you're here. Now, Chosen One, breathe with me. Inhale slowly. Exhale with intention. Feel that. That's your spirit recognizing truth. This isn't just content, it's a divine download, a transmission crafted not for the masses, but for the marked. For those who were hidden for a season so they could be revealed in power. For those who have endured long nights of being unseen, who have quietly prepared in obscurity, and who are now ready to step fully into divine visibility. The signs have been surrounding you, haven't they? Numbers, dreams, recurring symbols, unexpected encounters that seem to echo the same message. Get ready. You're about to be moved, not just physically, but spiritually, emotionally, vibrationally. You're being shifted into a realm that reflects your true frequency. A space where your light won't be questioned, it will be required. If this message resonates with something ancient inside of you, if it stirs that unshakable part of your soul that knows you were never meant to stay hidden, then type 777 in the comments. That number isn't decoration, it's a spiritual code, a declaration that says to the heavens, I am ready, I am chosen, I am aligned. Every time that number appears, it's another sign that your time has come. You've outgrown the illusion that you have to stay small. You've outlasted the voices that tried to tether you to old timelines. And now, the ancient ones, the watchers, the guides, the ones who have walked beside you in silence, have made their move. They've aligned someone in a position of authority to recognize what you carry and usher you into the space where your gifts will no longer be tolerated. They will be celebrated. So prepare your heart, ready your spirit, because what's coming isn't ordinary, it's ordained. The pressure was proof, the discomfort was preparation, and now the door is open. Let this message anchor you. Watch it as many times as your spirit needs. Each time it will reveal a new layer, because divine truth reveals itself in stages, and every time you return to it, you'll be at a higher frequency. You're not just listening, you're activating. You're remembering what your soul has always known. This is your time. This is your relocation. This is your rise. Let's get into it. God's chosen ones, a high-level contact, is about to relocate you. They've recognized your gifts. Chapter 1. Your spirit felt the shift long before the offer appeared. Have you ever stood in a place that once felt like home, only to feel like you were slowly disappearing inside of it? Have you ever looked around and whispered, "Why does everything suddenly feel so off?" That wasn't confusion. That was divine alignment shaking loose the parts of your life that no longer fit your spirit. You, chosen one, sensed the shift long before the opportunity arrived. Your spirit felt the shift long before the offer appeared. Before any message, invitation, or connection came, your soul already felt the tremors of something sacred approaching. The air around you grew heavy with invisible tension, and routines that once grounded, you began to feel more like restraints. It wasn't exhaustion or boredom, it was holy restlessness, a divine alert that change was not only coming, it was necessary. Why did your favorite places start to feel too small? Why did once natural conversations suddenly feel forced and draining? Why did your passions begin to flicker like a flame inside a closed jar? Because the version of you that belonged to this season had already served its purpose. The Spirit was whispering through your discomfort, calling you higher. As Ecclesiastes 3:1 declares, "To everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven." This wasn't loss, it was transition, and only the spiritually tuned in could feel it before it took shape. Those subtle nudges weren't random, they were divine breadcrumbs placed by your guides, clues in conversations, signs in songs, glimpses in dreams. A city you've never visited kept popping up. A voice in your heart grew louder with each sunrise. A community you'd never known started calling your name. It was all part of God's strategic orchestration. Yet still, your old fears whispered back, "Stay where it's safe. Be grateful. Don't aim too high." Have you ever noticed how fear always disguises itself as practicality? But chosen one, fear is a liar. And you knew that. Deep inside, something in you refused to shrink. Just like Abraham in Genesis 12, you were being called out of the familiar into the unknown. Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you, the Lord told him. Abraham didn't have a map, he had a mandate, and so do you. Then, as if on cue, it happened. A high-level contact, someone with reach, respect, and the resources to shift your trajectory, entered your life. Whether it was through a friend's recommendation, a divine email, or a chance encounter that felt anything but random, their presence confirmed what your spirit already knew. You've been seen, but not in the superficial way the world usually sees. They recognized the depth in you, the potential, the light. And while your mind may have questioned it, your spirit didn't. Because this connection didn't feel manipulative or rushed, it felt aligned, like something written in your soul finally found its way into the physical world. This is what happened to Viola Davis. For years, she poured herself into her craft without widespread recognition. But when the right opportunity finally came, it wasn't luck, it was alignment. The world saw what had always been there, and suddenly the doors began to open. That same divine recognition is now happening for you. And as that door opened, something in you unlocked. The stagnation began to melt away, and in its place came clarity. No longer trapped in the maze of doubt, you started preparing, not just practically but spiritually. The idea of moving to a new city no longer felt absurd. The thought of stepping into new circles no longer triggered imposter syndrome. You began to trust the unfolding because it wasn't reckless, it was righteous. As Isaiah 43:19 says, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it?" This wasn't a disruption, it was your deliverance. And while fear may still tap you on the shoulder, it no longer gets to sit at your table. Why? Because something deeper has awakened. You're not being relocated randomly, you're being strategically repositioned. Like David moving from tending sheep to ruling a kingdom, you are stepping into a new landscape because your gift is too big to stay buried. And just as God told Joshua in Joshua 1:9, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. So take heart. You are not alone in this leap. Let's talk about Liz Murray. Born into poverty with drug-addicted parents, she became homeless as a teenager. But after losing her mother to AIDS, she decided to rewrite her story. She applied to Harvard and got in. Her transition didn't come after years of stability. It came after unimaginable chaos. And yet, when the divine shift arrived, she moved with it. So must you. The life you've dreamed about isn't fantasy, it's memory. Your soul remembers who you are. The longing you've carried is not delusion, it's divine recall. That yearning for more, that ache for something beyond what you can see, has been heaven pulling you toward your rightful place. And now, the world is catching up to what heaven has already seen. As Romans 8:28 declares, and we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are the called according to his purpose. You are one of those. You've been called, and now you're being positioned. So when the offer comes, chosen one, when the door swings open and the message lands and the invitation arrives, don't hesitate. Don't overanalyze. Don't wait for every detail to make sense. Walk through. This isn't just a move, it's a sacred assignment. You're not just changing places, you're stepping into purpose. Let that be your confirmation. The season has changed. The map is unfolding, and the Spirit is moving you into alignment. The door is open. Walk through it. Chapter 2. You lived through the season of being overlooked. Have you ever felt like your voice echoed through an empty room? Like no matter how much love you gave, how many solutions you offered, or how deeply you healed others, no one truly saw you. You showed up for everyone, but when it was your turn to be celebrated, the applause never came. Why did they overlook you? Why did your light feel invisible to those you helped shine? Could it be that you were never forgotten, but protected? You, chosen one, lived through the sacred storm of invisibility, and while the world may have ignored your efforts, heaven was watching the whole time. There were moments you questioned your own brilliance. You whispered, "Was it all in my head? Was I ever really gifted?" But let's get one thing clear. Your doubt wasn't confirmation of inadequacy. It was the result of divine hiding. As Psalm 31 verse 20 reminds us, "You hide them in the shelter of your presence, safe from those who conspire against them. You shelter them in your presence, far from accusing tongues." Why would God hide someone like you? Why would your gifts be veiled for so long? Because early exposure to the wrong audience could have tainted your mission. If you had been placed in the spotlight too soon, would you have been able to withstand the jealousy, manipulation, or pressure that comes with it? Would you have stayed grounded or started performing for validation instead of truth? What if the delay wasn't denial, but a sacred setup? Think about Morgan Freeman. He didn't gain widespread recognition until his late 40s, despite years of dedicated, unseen labor. What if he had been pushed into fame before his spirit was rooted in identity? His later success was stable because his foundation was unshakable. The same is being done in you. During those years of silence, did you notice how your spirit grew stronger, how you became more disciplined, even when no one was watching? Have you ever wondered why you still kept showing up, still kept creating, still kept loving, even when you received nothing in return? That was divine resilience being built in you. You were not failing, you were being fortified. As Luke 16:10 declares, "Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much." So God entrusted you with the sacred art of consistency in obscurity. While others posted for likes, you practiced depth in secret. While others burned out chasing applause, you were cultivating peace in the shadows. And now, heaven is calling you forward, not because of a trend, but because of trust. Do you know what it means to be recognized, not by the masses, but by the divine blueprint of someone else's calling? The person being sent to you now, a high-level ally, mentor, or opportunity, is not arriving by coincidence. They're not here to elevate you for the sake of praise. They've been guided toward you because their mission cannot succeed without your light. They see something your past environment was too small to contain. Have you ever felt too big for your surroundings? That wasn't arrogance. It was alignment with a higher calling. Think of Chadwick Boseman. He lived out his calling with excellence while the world had no idea he was battling terminal illness. He didn't ask for pity. He didn't wait for perfection. He operated in purpose. When his truth came to light, the world stood in awe, not just of his talent, but of his strength. Are you willing to be that faithful even when no one's clapping? And now, the ones watching you are not spectators. They are soul-level mirrors. They are not intimidated by your power. They are activated by it. How does it feel to finally be seen by eyes that understand you? How does it feel to be invited into a room where your authenticity is the requirement, not your performance? Isaiah 49:2 speaks of this moment. He made my mouth like a sharpened sword. In the shadow of his hand he hid me. He made me into a polished arrow and concealed me in his quiver. You were not lost. You were being shaped for precision. You were never forgotten. You were being saved for the moment when your impact would ripple, not just echo. What will you do now that you're being called forward? Yes, it may feel surreal. You've been background support for so long that stepping into center stage might shake your confidence. But chosen one, this isn't an audition, it's your arrival. You are not here to prove. You are here to reveal. What was hidden is now being unveiled. You are being released into your rightful space. Remember Susan Boyle, ridiculed before she opened her mouth and revered moments later. Why? Because the world's assumptions can never dim the light of God's timing, and when that moment comes, not even the most skeptical hearts can deny your brilliance. Romans 8:18 says, I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. You've carried pain in silence, but now the glory is arriving, not to replace the suffering, but to show that it was never in vain. So what is this new place asking of you? Not to be louder, not to be more polished, just to be more you, the true you, the you who has already been tested by fire, the you who knows how to remain calm when others panic, the you who has survived storms that others didn't even see coming. You are not entering empty, you are entering overflowing. Proverbs 18:16 reminds us, a man's gift makes room for him and brings him before great men. Your gift is making room now, not in a crowded room that drains you, but in sacred spaces that nourish you. Have you noticed the people in your life shifting? The environment starting to feel too shallow? That's not rejection, that's redirection. You're being realigned with the ones who carry heaven's frequency. So when the invitation comes, whether it's a new job, a new city, a new connection, don't hesitate. Don't let your memory of invisibility rob you of this moment of emergence. You were never meant to stay in the shadows. You were meant to rise. Let go of the need for validation. Let go of the idea that visibility makes you valuable. Your value was established in the unseen. Now it's just time for the world to catch up. You were always meant to rise, and now, chosen one, you will. Chapter 3. You outgrew rivalries and gatekeepers. Have you ever felt like you were stuck in a room far too small for your calling? Have you wondered why, no matter how qualified, authentic, or prepared you were, The doors remained closed, or worse, controlled by people who seemed determined to keep them shut. Chosen one, it wasn't your imagination. You were placed in an environment that exposed the contrast between your divine assignment and their human insecurity. And one of the clearest signs that you were destined for more was the constant friction with people who saw your light, not with awe, but with anxiety. They sensed something powerful in you long before you fully understood it yourself, and instead of celebrating it, they tried to suppress it. Some excluded you from rooms where you belonged. Others hoarded opportunities that could have changed your life. And still, a few went even deeper, whispering lies, sowing doubt, orchestrating quiet sabotage. Have you ever asked yourself, why are they so bothered by me? It wasn't because you were doing anything wrong. It was because your presence alone reminded them of everything they weren't willing to become. But here's the deeper truth. They weren't your enemies. They were your mirrors, showing you where you still sought approval. As Galatians 1:10 says, am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Or am I trying to please people? If I was still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ. Your celestial allies, those assigned by God to guide and protect your mission, allowed the friction not to harm you, but to refine you. Why? Because part of your preparation required you to outgrow the need for gatekeepers altogether. You may have spent months or years trying to get on their good side, thinking if you just proved your loyalty, if you just played by their rules, then maybe they'd open the door for you. But that was the illusion. That was the trap. And every closed door, every false promise, every disappointing delay wasn't rejection. It was a redirection. It was God saving you from a realm too small for your soul. Do you remember when Brené Brown was told her research would never resonate with the world because it was too emotional, too human? Now she's transformed millions of lives through the very vulnerability that was once dismissed. Her rise wasn't made possible by appeasing the critics. It came from walking away from needing their permission. That's what you did. Eventually, you stopped jumping through hoops. You stopped asking for a seat at tables that were never meant to hold your greatness. You realized that the anointing on your life didn't require their affirmation. And in that sacred moment of rebellion, not against them, but for yourself, you activated a new level of authority. One that only comes when you stop seeking approval and start walking in alignment. As Isaiah 2:22 reminds us, stop trusting in mere humans who have but a breath in their nostrils. Why hold them in esteem? Your power doesn't originate from man, it flows from heaven. And your real gatekeepers, the ones who hold divine keys, have always been watching, waiting for you to detach from the false structures and step into sovereignty. But let's be honest, even knowing all of this, didn't it hurt sometimes? Didn't you wonder, if I'm really chosen, why do I keep getting blocked? But chosen one, the blockages were never aimed at stopping you. They were placed to grow your discernment, to teach you the difference between those who want proximity to your power and those who want partnership in your purpose. Oprah Winfrey once said, everybody wants to ride with you in the limo, but what you want is someone who will take the bus with you when the limo breaks down. And as someone who was repeatedly told she wasn't fit for television, she learned to trust the God within more than the voices around. Her ascension didn't come by pandering, it came by standing, just like you've learned to do. And then something shifted. The moment you no longer bowed to the false altars of people-pleasing, the divine realm moved. Heaven took note. You passed the test, not by winning over your rivals, but by walking away from needing them. That inner shift caused a ripple in the spirit. Your celestial allies rerouted the path. No more detours, no more performances. You stopped playing chess with those who didn't even understand the board you were standing on. And that's when alignment happened. Someone real, someone powerful, someone aligned walked into your path, not to save you, but to see you. And not just see your talent, but your essence. For the first time in a long time, you didn't have to tone down your truth to make someone comfortable. You didn't have to explain your presence or soften your brilliance. This connection was different. They didn't want to use your light, they wanted to protect it. That's what divine placement looks like. 1 Peter 5:6 declares, "Humble yourselves therefore under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time." You humbled yourself through silence, through closed doors, through tears behind the scenes. And now, the lifting is here, not because you demanded it, but because you were faithful even when no one was watching. Let's not forget Ava DuVernay. She didn't get her first major directing opportunity until after age 40, despite years of quietly producing meaningful stories. But when she walked away from the need for mainstream validation, she created her own path. And Hollywood came running. Her destiny wasn't delayed, it was being preserved. So, what about you, chosen one? Are you ready to stop playing in arenas built to contain you? Are you ready to rise above rivalries, to walk past those who once blocked your path without needing revenge, validation, or closure? Can you bless them for the role they played in shaping your strength, even if their intentions were never pure? Because now you're being repositioned into rooms that honor your integrity. Environments where your presence won't be feared, it will be valued. Circles where power isn't about control, it's about collaboration. And, from this point forward, your elevation will no longer be hindered by the games of the insecure. As Psalm 75, 6-7 declares, "No one from the east or the west or from the desert can exalt themselves. It is God who judges. He brings one down, he exalts another." You've been chosen not by gatekeepers, but by God. And now that the illusions have crumbled, so will the limits. So get ready. The wave that's coming isn't just a moment, it's a movement. You're not rising because they let you. You're rising because heaven decreed it. And nothing can stop what God has already set in motion. Chapter 4. You sharpened your gifts in private while the world was sleeping on you. Have you ever stayed up late? Not because you had to, but because something deep in your soul refused to rest. While others slept, scrolled, or socialized, you were in the quiet, sharpening something no one else could see. Have you ever turned your bedroom into a sacred laboratory, whispering prayers between pages, sketching visions that hadn't yet taken form, or rehearsing skills with no one watching? Chosen one, they may have been sleeping on you, but heaven was wide awake. You didn't have a stage, you didn't have applause, but what you had was far more sacred: time in the shadows, time to refine your spirit, not just your skill, time to build your foundation in peace, not performance. While the world chased quick wins, you committed to long-term mastery. As Proverbs 22:29 declares, "Do you see someone skilled in their work? They will serve before kings. They will not serve before obscure people." You were never meant to be ordinary, which is why your development had to be extraordinary, hidden, holy, and hard. While others performed for attention, you performed for alignment. You weren't waiting for the spotlight, you were becoming the light. You learned how to be dangerous in the spirit, not with loud declarations, but with quiet depth. Each overlooked hour became a seed. Each prayer, each failed attempt, each breakthrough behind closed doors became bricks in the temple of your destiny. But did you ever ask yourself, does any of this matter if no one sees it? That doubt was real. There were days it screamed at you, "You're behind, you're wasting your time, no one's coming." But in those moments your celestial allies whispered louder, "Keep going, you're not being overlooked, you're being preserved." The world told you that progress without praise was meaningless. But the Spirit showed you that applause can be deceiving. What's built in silence is often the most unshakable. Jesus himself spent 30 years in quiet preparation before 3 years of public ministry, 30 years in the shadows. Why? Because the depth of his mission required roots too deep to be grown in shallow soil. Think of Viola Davis. Before her Oscar-winning performances, she spent years acting in roles that didn't reflect the depth of her talent. She kept working, kept building, kept studying, even when Hollywood offered her crumbs. But when her time came, the world didn't just see an actress, they saw a master. That's what happens when you sharpen in secret. You don't just arrive, you dominate. And while your name wasn't trending, your power was ascending. Every time you sacrificed sleep to study, every time you showed up in private when no one clapped, every time you wrote, created, healed, or trained in silence, it was being recorded, not by algorithms, but by angels. Heaven saw it all. As Matthew 6:6 promises, when you pray, go into your room, close the door, then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you openly. Your unseen work has triggered a public reward. Are you beginning to see the pattern now? You didn't fall behind. You advanced beyond what most could comprehend, because you weren't distracted. You weren't operating from ego. You were operating from essence. And because you weren't chasing visibility, your power grew quietly, but deeply. And now the time has come. The whispers have started. Right now, as you read these words, your name is being spoken in rooms you haven't entered. Conversations are happening behind closed doors, and not the kind that tear down, but the kind that build kingdoms. Why? Because your celestial allies are moving. They're positioning you before someone with the reach and reverence to elevate what you've built. Not because you begged, but because your fruit speaks for itself. Remember Misty Copeland? She became the first African-American female principal dancer with the American Ballet Theatre. Not because she forced her way in, but because she kept refining her gift long after others quit. They told her body wasn't right, her background wasn't enough. But when her moment came, she didn't need to convince anyone. Her excellence did the talking, so will yours. So what's coming for you? A stage, a platform, a relocation to a realm that matches your refinement? Whatever form it takes, know this, you're ready. Not because you memorized a script, but because you lived the truth. The same people who once overlooked you will stand in awe. Not because you got louder, but because you got real. And real always rises. As 1 Corinthians 2:9 declares, no eye has seen, no ear has heard, and no mind has imagined what God has prepared for those who love him. The world hasn't seen the full extent of your preparation, but they're about to witness the harvest. And when it happens, it will be undeniable that your private season wasn't a delay. It was divine engineering. Ask yourself, what have I built in silence that's about to speak for me? What wisdom, what mastery, what strength have I cultivated that the world is about to discover? And perhaps more importantly, are you ready to be seen, not for the version you had to survive with, but for the version you refined through sweat, surrender, and sacred solitude? This was always the plan. Your silent season wasn't a punishment, it was a prophecy. Every quiet hour was counted. Every hidden effort was sacred. You didn't miss your moment. You became the moment. And now your unveiling will be undeniable. Let the world watch. Let your light speak. Let the ones who once doubted see just how far you've come, not by force, but by faith. Get ready, chosen one. The curtain is rising, and what you built in the dark is about to shine brighter than you ever imagined. Chapter 5. You broke free from the lie of wrong timing. Have you ever found yourself saying, I'll go for it when I'm more ready, when the chaos settles, when I finally feel prepared? How many times have you told yourself, now's just not the right time, not realizing that this belief was quietly chaining you to a stagnant season that had long since expired? Chosen one of the greatest illusions used against people like you, the ones marked, the ones called, is the lie of wrong timing. Not because you weren't capable, but because fear dressed itself up as wisdom. You waited for the perfect alignment, not knowing that alignment often comes after obedience, not before it. You told yourself, I'll leap when I have more money, when I heal from this heartbreak, when I'm more confident, when I've figured everything out. But that day kept moving like a mirage in the desert, because the perfect time, it was never coming. Not because you didn't deserve it, but because your destiny isn't built on convenience. It's built on calling. And calling doesn't wait until your life looks like a well-organized calendar. As Ecclesiastes 11:4 reminds us, whoever watches the wind will not plant. Whoever looks at the clouds will not reap. In other words, those who wait for ideal conditions will always miss the harvest. You were never meant to live in hesitation. You were meant to move with heaven. So why does the divine so often call you in the middle of chaos? Because obedience that costs you nothing means nothing. Your celestial allies don't wait for your schedule to open. They move when your spirit is most ripe for growth. They show up during your overwhelm, your uncertainty, your so-called wrong time, because that's when trust is most powerful. That's when fear has to be confronted directly, and that's when breakthrough is closest. Think about Taraji P. Henson. She was a single mom, had just $700 to her name, and was told she was too old to start acting seriously. But she didn't wait. She packed up, moved to LA, and chased her purpose anyway. The odds said the timing was wrong, but heaven said, now. And because she trusted the call, her life shifted. Have you ever felt that unexpected nudge, that divine push when everything in your life felt unstable, yet something in your soul whispered, leap anyway? That wasn't recklessness. That was your celestial allies offering you a sacred doorway, a narrow opening that wouldn't remain open forever. And when you took even one step toward it, didn't the pieces begin to shift? Didn't resources appear that you hadn't planned for? Didn't strength rise up that you didn't know you had? As Proverbs 3:5-6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. Your calling doesn't require your clarity. It requires your trust. Trust that the call is the sign. Trust that the opportunity is the confirmation. Trust that if the divine says now, then now is right, even if nothing else looks ready. You weren't being trained to have all the answers. You were being trained to respond without hesitation. Every time you acted on faith, your capacity expanded. Every time you obeyed the whisper instead of the logic, you cracked open another level of your purpose. The delays weren't failures, they were rehearsals in trust. And now, that trust has matured. Steve Harvey once said he was living out of his car when he got a last-minute call to appear on Showtime at the Apollo. He almost missed it because he didn't have enough money to make the flight. But he took the leap anyway, and that moment launched his career. It wasn't convenient, it wasn't planned, but it was divinely aligned. And that's exactly how heaven moves for the chosen ones, not through perfect timing, but through perfect trust. When you look back now, can you see how many windows were offered to you? Windows you almost missed because you were waiting for more certainty. But chosen one, the windows weren't given so you could wait. They were given so you could jump. And the reason your life is shifting now is because you finally understood this truth. Obedience precedes alignment. Your celestial allies don't need your life to be tidy. They don't need your schedule to be clear. They need your spirit to say yes. They need you to act on faith before the plan is fully revealed. As Hebrews 11:8 reminds us, by faith Abraham, when called to go, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going. That is the faith you now carry. Are you beginning to realize that the discomfort of stepping forward before you're ready is exactly what activates divine momentum? It's not the absence of fear that marks your growth. It's your willingness to move with it. And now, your willingness has graduated into readiness. Not because you solved every problem, but because your spirit has been trained to trust. That's why your celestial allies are about to disrupt your path again, with purpose. You may feel the pull toward a sudden move, a shift in career, an invitation that feels bigger than your current capacity. But that tension you feel, that's the stretching of destiny. Remember J.K. Rowling? She was a broke, struggling single mother when the idea for Harry Potter came. She didn't wait until life was easier. She wrote anyway, on napkins, in cafes, through depression. She trusted the vision. And today, millions are impacted because she didn't wait for perfect timing. She acted. So what about you, chosen one? Are you still asking, is this a good time? Or have you learned to ask the better question, is this divine? You've graduated from fear-based procrastination into purpose-driven movement. You don't need full clarity anymore. You just need a whisper. And once you sense the divine stirring, your only responsibility is to respond. As Romans 13:11 declares, and do this, understanding the present time. The hour has already come for you to wake up from your slumber. You are not waiting on the right time. The right time is waiting on you. So when the door opens, go. When the call comes, answer. When the opportunity interrupts your comfort, say yes. This is what you've been prepared for. This is why the quiet years stretched you. Why the delays built your sensitivity. Why the discomfort taught you to discern the difference between illusion and instruction. Because now you no longer ask for signs, you are the sign. You no longer delay when called, you move. You have broken free from the illusion that kept you stuck for so long. And now you are ready to rise, not when it feels convenient, but exactly when heaven says, go. Chapter 6. You chose the divine over the crowd. Have you ever found yourself biting your tongue in the middle of a conversation, holding back your truth because you knew the room wasn't ready for it? Have you ever shrunk your spiritual light to fit into spaces that rewarded comfort over calling? Chosen one, the divine saw every moment you stayed quiet to keep the peace, every time you swallowed your truth just to belong. But there came a moment, a quiet, sacred moment, when you no longer could. And that was the moment everything began to shift. That was when you chose the divine over the crowd. This wasn't a dramatic rebellion. There was no thunder, no spotlight. The test didn't come wrapped in obvious spiritual warfare. It came clothed in subtle daily interactions. A co-worker chuckled at your spiritual beliefs, not knowing how deep your conviction ran. A friend joked about your weird energy when you started talking about being chosen. Your family questioned why you had changed, why you seemed distant, intense, or too serious. At first, you wondered if you were the problem. You questioned your own alignment. But then you realized these weren't random irritations. They were divinely allowed pressure points, micro-tests. As 1 Peter 4:12-13 reminds us, dear friends, do not be surprised at the fiery ordeal that has come on you to test you, as though something strange were happening to you. But rejoice, that you may be overjoyed when His glory is revealed. What felt like resistance was actually spiritual assessment. Your celestial allies, the Watchers, were watching not just your actions, but your alignment. Would you dim to blend in? Would you conform to keep company? Or would you stand? In the past, maybe you would have chosen harmony over truth. You would have laughed off disrespect to avoid confrontation. You would have edited your story to sound more normal. You weren't weak. You were seeking connection, You wanted to belong, and the world taught you that blending in was safer than standing out. But every time you did that, the illusion grew. The illusion that human approval was more valuable than divine assignment. That to be loved, you had to be less. That applause meant alignment. But chosen one, how long did you chase their acceptance and still feel empty? How long did you smile at their jokes, nod at their advice, and follow their rules, only to return home spiritually drained? And then, something inside you broke, but in the most beautiful way. You stopped arguing. You stopped explaining. You stopped defending your truth to people who never had the capacity to hold it. You realized that the more you sought their understanding, the more you were sacrificing your calling. And so, you did something brave. You let them misunderstand you. This is where you began to walk the narrow path. Like when Kanye West walked away from the mainstream industry's expectations to create something rooted in his faith. People mocked him, some left, but he stayed aligned. You don't have to agree with every choice he made to understand the spiritual cost of choosing God over applause. That same fire burns in you. You began tuning into the whispers, not of people but of your watchers. You started asking not, will they approve, but is this from God? And that shift wasn't small, it was everything. It was the moment illusion lost its grip. The moment you chose to belong in heaven more than you needed to belong on earth. And yes, it cost you. Some friendships withered. Some family members pulled away. Some colleagues kept their distance. People called you arrogant, rigid, too spiritual. But were you truly too much? Or were they simply unwilling to rise? As Matthew 10:22 declares, "You will be hated by everyone because of me, but the one who stands firm to the end will be saved." You stood firm, not in rage but in reverence. You didn't curse the ones who misunderstood you. You blessed them and kept moving. That's maturity, that's alignment, that's spiritual royalty. Your watchers saw it all. They saw the nights you cried from loneliness, the moments guilt tried to sneak in. They saw how you no longer turned to people's opinions to feel safe, but turned inward and upward. You asked, wait, what does heaven say about this? And in that question you broke free. You divorced yourself from external validation and married your divine identity. Think of Colin Kaepernick. He lost everything the world deems valuable, contracts, sponsorships, reputation, because he stood for a deeper truth. And even though many misunderstood, time revealed the strength behind his choice. That's what happens when you choose conviction over comfort, when you choose purpose over popularity, when you choose heaven over headlines. And in time, the world adjusted. The people around you had no choice. Some left, some stayed and grew. Others tolerated your light, even if they didn't understand it. But more importantly, you changed. You no longer needed them to see you. You saw yourself. You no longer needed them to clap. You heard heaven whispering, "Well done." As Romans 12:2 says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." That renewal began when you stopped apologizing for your light. You stopped shrinking to soothe others. You stopped playing small so others wouldn't feel insecure. And now, you are radiant. You don't flinch at gossip anymore. You don't hesitate when asked to relocate, step up or step out, because you no longer ask, what will they think? You've already been through the fire and come out golden. The watchers trust you, not because you're perfect, but because you're loyal. You've proven that when the crowd turns away, you stay in alignment. And that kind of loyalty cannot be faked. It's earned in fire. Take Malala Yousafzai. She was mocked, targeted, even nearly killed for standing in her truth, and yet she continued. Because when your loyalty is to something greater than public approval, nothing can stop your rise. That is your energy now. You walk with something different, a quiet force, an invisible authority. People can feel it. They may not understand it, but they can't ignore it. You are no longer someone who needs validation to move. You are someone who moves and causes others to validate you afterward. Your power doesn't come from visibility. It comes from obedience. And so when the next divine instruction arrives, whether it's a new city, a bold project, or a step that makes no sense to the natural mind, you don't hesitate. You recognize the pattern now. When it's from God, it won't always be logical, but it will always be right. You've been trained to discern that difference. As Isaiah 30:21 says, "Whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, 'This is the way, walk in it.'" That voice is clearer now than ever. You've tuned out the noise of the crowd, and now you hear heaven's frequency loud and clear. And with that clarity comes peace. You've become someone who isn't moved by approval, applause, or criticism. You've become someone the divine can trust with a sacred assignment. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be used, not by people, but by God. You've passed the test. You've chosen truth over comfort, alignment over applause, eternity over ego. And now, you are unstoppable. Chapter 7. Your relocation unlocks the next level. Have you ever woken up one day and felt like something around you had shifted, even though nothing seemed different on the outside? The same streets, the same people, the same routine. And yet, in your spirit, you knew something was changing. You couldn't explain it. You couldn't point to a calendar date. But you could feel it, a divine tension stretching you from the inside out. That tension wasn't restlessness. It was spiritual preparation. And now, chosen one, the moment you've quietly prepared for has arrived. Your relocation unlocks the next level. But let's be honest, relocation doesn't always look the way we expect it to. It's not just about packing a suitcase or moving to a new city. Sometimes it begins long before the physical move. It starts when your soul begins to outgrow the environment it once tolerated. When the conversations that used to energize you now drain you. When the habits that used to work suddenly feel too small. When even your wins feel hollow. Have you felt that lately? That strange, bittersweet ache that whispers, "You don't belong here anymore." That whisper is your watchers speaking. They're not pushing you out, they're calling you up. And every spiritual test you've faced, the heartbreaks, the delays, the false starts, the spiritual attacks that came when no one was watching, those were not in vain. They were part of your qualification process. As 2 Corinthians 4:17 reminds us, "For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all." So why now? Because you're no longer who you used to be. You're not the person who craved stability at the cost of growth. You're not the version of yourself who needed people to understand in order to act. You've graduated spiritually. And with that graduation comes a divine invitation. Leave the old frequency. Enter your higher realm. This move isn't about abandoning people. It's not about cutting ties just to feel superior. It's about obedience. It's about alignment. You are being relocated not because your current environment is evil, but because it's incomplete for your purpose. It served its chapter, but it cannot carry your calling. Think of Abraham in Genesis 12. God told him, "Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you." He wasn't given a GPS or a timeline, just a command. Why? Because the journey was about trust, not clarity, not convenience. And like Abraham, you're not being sent into chaos, you're being positioned into covenant. But this shift comes with a cost. You'll feel the ache of leaving behind what's familiar. You'll feel the weight of saying goodbye to people who only knew an older version of you. They won't understand your relocation because they were never meant to follow you into this new space. And that's okay. As Luke 9:62 reminds us, no one who puts a hand to the plow and looks back is fit for service in the kingdom of God. You were never meant to carry dead weight into your divine assignment. And yes, some days that will hurt, but that pain, that ache, it's sacred. It means you're growing. It means your soul is stretching beyond the borders of comfort. It's the cry of a spirit preparing for its next dimension. Let it ache, let it burn, let it cleanse you. Do you remember when Tyler Perry lived in his car, writing plays that no one would come to see? His current life, the studios, the success, the influence, was unlocked only after he relocated from desperation into dedication. He didn't wait for a perfect environment. He created one. And you, chosen one, are being called to do the same. Because the place you're going isn't just for your survival, it's for your legacy. Your watchers are moving pieces behind the scenes. Conversations are being had in rooms where your name is now being mentioned. Opportunities are lining up. Funding is being unlocked. Emails are being prepared. This isn't a coincidence. It's convergence. When the opportunity shows up, and it will, it may not look the way you imagined. It might come in the form of a conversation that turns into an offer, a connection that seems random but feels prophetic, a door that opens so quickly it unnerves you, but you'll know it's divine, not because it's flashy, but because your spirit will say yes, even if your mind says, "Wait, is this real?" That's the paradox of spiritual promotion. It often shows up at the most inconvenient time, when your finances still feel uncertain, when your calendar is full, when your emotional energy feels limited. But that's how you know it's from God, because He doesn't wait until you feel ready. He moves when your spirit is ready. And right now, your readiness has been confirmed. Do you remember Viola Davis's rise? Years of being overlooked, roles that boxed her in. But when the right script came, the right stage, she stepped into it, not because the world made space, but because heaven did. She walked through the door not with ego, but with authority. You're about to do the same. So when the old voices whisper, "You're not ready," silence them with the truth. You've been forged in fire. You've survived rooms not meant for you. You've stayed faithful when you were overlooked. You didn't need confirmation then. You don't need it now. You may not have all the answers. You may still have some loose ends. But chosen one, you don't need perfection. You need permission. And heaven already gave it. As Isaiah 60 verse 1 declares, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." This is your arising, not a test, a transition, not a hope, a handover. You're being given keys to a space that was created with you in mind. The room won't shrink you. It will stretch you. It won't silence you. It will echo your voice. So walk boldly. When the email comes, respond. When the offer is placed, don't overanalyze. When the opportunity makes your heart race, say yes. Don't pray for another sign when the sign is already standing in front of you. Because your relocation is not just about you, it's about the lives you're about to unlock, the souls your voice will reach, the blueprints your hands will build, and the future generations that will call you ancestor. Your relocation activates the next level, not just of opportunity, but of impact. You're not just moving, you're ascending. Chosen one, let's take a breath together, right here, right now, because what you've just read is not an ending. It's the threshold of something far greater. If your spirit has been stirred, your eyes welled with tears, your heart cracked open in recognition, then you already know this wasn't just a message. This was a divine activation. You weren't randomly drawn here. You were summoned, not by chance, but by design. Every chapter you walked through, from the obscurity to the sharpening, to the heartbreak, to the silence, has been converging into this exact moment. The moment when the heavens declare, you are ready to be relocated. Not because you begged for it, not because you chased it, but because you grew into it. The version of you that's standing here today is not the same version that began the journey, and that's why the door has appeared. You've been seen, you've been studied, you've been spiritually evaluated, and now the verdict is in. You've been approved by heaven. Your watchers, the divine allies that have followed your every step since the beginning, have come into agreement. You are no longer to be hidden. You are no longer to be overlooked. You are to be placed in position. And what's coming next? It isn't just an opportunity, it's a sacred unveiling. But let me pause here and acknowledge something real. I know what it took for you to reach this point. You've endured storms in silence. You've doubted yourself more times than you'd admit. You've had moments where you wanted to walk away from your purpose completely. You've held back tears in rooms where you couldn't explain what was happening to you spiritually. But still, you stayed faithful. You didn't fold. You listened to the whispers, even when they contradicted the noise. And because of that obedience, because of your courage to keep saying yes to the call, even when it cost you everything, you are now being placed exactly where your gifts can thrive. This relocation, it's not just physical, it's metaphysical, it's spiritual, it's dimensional. Your frequency is being lifted, your atmosphere is being recalibrated. You're stepping into a realm where divine favor flows freely, where the people you meet already know who you are in the spirit, where your name has been pre-whispered into hearts, where the rooms you enter will feel like home, not because you've been there before, but because your purpose has. Yes, there may still be nerves. That's natural. Even Jesus, before he took the final steps toward Calvary, paused and said, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me." Luke 22:42. But obedience is not the absence of fear, it's the decision to move anyway. You no longer move by logic, you move by instruction. And in this divine relocation, you're not just being positioned to receive, you're being placed to activate others. You are the torchbearer, the guide, the spark. You will speak and people will remember who they are. You will walk into a room and the atmosphere will shift. You won't even have to explain yourself. Your presence will do the talking. And before we part ways today, I want to speak to you personally. Thank you. Thank you for being here, for showing up to this divine conversation. Thank you for staying through every word, for being open to receive what the Spirit has been trying to confirm inside you. Whether this is your first time or you've walked with me through many messages, your energy is sacred here. This space is held for souls like you, souls who were never meant to live at the surface. If this message blessed you, healed you, or confirmed what you already knew deep down, I invite you from the heart to consider sowing into this mission through the super thanks below. Your support allows me to continue creating and sharing these transmissions with others who are still searching for clarity and connection. But hear this, whether you donate or not, I am deeply, wholeheartedly grateful for you. Your presence here is enough. Your willingness to receive is enough. Your soul's yes is enough. Every comment, every like, every quiet moment you took to reflect on these words, it all matters. You matter. And now, chosen one, I want to leave you with a blessing, spoken not just from me, but from the realm of divine alignment that surrounds you. I speak elevation over your name. May your feet be guided by supernatural clarity. May every room you enter honor your authenticity. May provision chase you. May protection cover you. May people of purpose, power, and purity find you and stand beside you. May every delay be transformed into divine acceleration. May the doors that are opening be effortless because your alignment is flawless. And may you always remember, you don't need to force what's already written. You've done the inner work, you've healed, you've grown. You've proven your integrity when no one was looking. Now it's time. Heaven is opening the door. Your relocation is divine, and your next level is non-negotiable. So take a deep breath, chosen one. This is it. Your name has been whispered. Your steps have been ordered. The place you're going knows you're coming. Now walk through the door. With reverence, with love, and with gratitude, I honor your presence in this space. Until the next message, stay radiant, stay aligned, stay unapologetically chosen.